In Colombia, when a criminal kingpin is having fun with a woman in a hot tub, a quick shot from a sniper kills him in the water. Meanwhile, in Virginia, an ex-Marine spends the night drinking heavily at a motel. After looking at his old squad photos and remembering how many were gone, not to mention the PTSD the war left in their wake, he picked up a gun and decided to end things on his own. A few days later, a funeral was held in his honor. Sergeant Major Brandon, a former member of the late Marine Squad, mourns the loss of his old friend, expresses confusion over his decision, and wonders how the legend ended this way. His friend, Major Miller, reminds him that his job can take a heavy toll on a soldier's mind, and Brandon is forced to wonder if the same thing could happen to him. Miller also has a new assignment for Brandon in Colombia to help the DEA in an important case. He then puts them in a car waiting to take you to the store's private jet. A few hours later, Brandon arrived in Bogota and the driver who picked him up couldn't help but piss him off, as Brandon is known for his stellar career as an elite sniper. Upon arriving at National Police Headquarters, Brandon meets Santiago, the officer assigned to him as an observer, and Captain Garza, the police chief who acts as a liaison between the Colombian police and the American DEA. Finally, there's Sergeant Beckett Gunnery, who also happens to be Brandon's father. It's great to see each other again after so long, but his father and son still refer to their ranks to maintain their professionalism. Meetings begin and Brandon says his target is Colombian cartel boss, named as Morales. His empire controls his 60% of the smuggling routes leading to the US border and specializes in recruiting children from the streets and raising them to his minions. His network was untraceable. The difficulty of this shot suggests that this sniper must have been an ex-military man and Morales hired him to eliminate competition. New information suggests that Morales will be coming to his farm soon, and the agents want Brandon as backup while they raid the place, but Brandon refuses because he doesn't like babysitters. An argument gets started and is abruptly interrupted by DEA agent, Kate. She is furious because Kate started the meeting earlier without her. She has brought all the information about the farm for them to research and wants to know if Brandon will take the assignment seriously. Brandon admits he hates this kind of work, but he promises to do as he is told. The next day, while Brandon is hiding in the woods with Santiago, Kate's DEA agents and Garza's cops approach the farm. Beckett watches a live feed from his office where he joins with Homeland Security agent Samson, who is concerned that Beckett and Kate are wasting time and resources with unverified information. The team parks the truck at a safe distance and uses trees to hide until the time comes, then sneaks up on foot. When Beckett gave them the green light, the team burst in and kicked the front door, only to find that this set off a trap and the entire building exploded. However, all the agents at the front are dead, except for Garza, who was suddenly wounded in the leg by Morales' hired sniper. Hiding behind the farm car, Kate decides to go to him to help him escape, but as soon as she picks him up, the sniper fires again, killing Garza instantly. This shot allows Brandon to locate the enemy's position and shoot back, but the other snipers dodge the bullets just in time and flee before Brandon can try again. Samson demands an explanation of what happened and concludes that someone in the police must have sold the information. Kettle and Brandon also point out that the sniper was waiting for Kate to come out instead of firing at Garza again. The second shot misses because Kate accidentally put Garza between herself and his sniper. Samson wants to call off the entire operation, but Kate refuses to give up without a real fight, and their argument goes on too long, so Brandon goes out of his way to make a deal. The team he is given 48 hours to track down the enemy, and if they fail he would accept to go home. After the meeting was over, Beckett told Brandon that after that shot, the other snipers probably knew who he was, so they should be careful. No matter how many times other agents claim the security is top-notch, Brandon believes a decent sniper can easily shoot into any room. Sniper is having fun with his girlfriend when he is suddenly interrupted by a phone call informing him that Kate and Brandon are staying at the DEA's safe house. El Diablo failed to kill her once, so this is his chance to right his wrongs. Back at Brandon, he reads an article online about his friend's death, referring to the crisis in the army as most soldiers leave the army with various mental illnesses. Kate abruptly cuts him off to thank him for his support during her meeting, then admits she's never lost a man under her command, and she struggles with it. She also thinks there was something strange about the way Garza was shot, and Brandon agrees that a sniper-controlled shot should be impossible according to the laws of physics. Kate explains she wants Morales, not a sniper, but Brandon points out that her bigotness has cost her many lives. Upset with her, Kate rushes out of the room crying as soon as she enters the elevator because Garza was her best friend and feels guilty about his death. As Brandon continues his research on new types of bullets and checks Santiago's guard shift on the radio, Kate goes to a popular bar for a drink. Next, she meets Carlos, a priest loved by the community for his work with those in need. Carlos believes that Kate can't beat a man as dangerous as Morales and should quit, but Kate still refuses to give up, so Carlos decides to share what little information he has. The sniper, known as El Diablo, was hired by Morales, so he should know where the hideout is. Before leaving, Carlos promises to contact Karen. Back at the safe house, Santiago makes an emergency call to Brandon, who finally realizes something is dangerous, so Brandon rushes to the rooftop with his own gun. Santiago was right, there's a sniper hiding in the distance. And now, Brandon and El Diablo are patiently waiting to see who will shoot first. Brandon fires first, but El Diablo quickly dodges the bullets and fights back. When he jumps out of the way and hides behind a wall, Brandon decides to stay there for a while, hopefully tricking El Diablo into thinking he's dead. The next morning, the team retrieves the orb and asks Miller for his expertise over a video call. A smart bullet equipped with laser-guided technology that can control the trajectory. After all, it's possible that Diablo isn't an ex-soldier or even a good shot at all. Bullet is just doing the job for him. Miller also confirms Brandon's sentiments by pointing out that the shelter is not very safe. Samson ends the meeting after promising to contact the CIA and find a decent shelter. Meanwhile, in his safe home, Morales plays with the boys while he teaches them to fearlessly fight for what's theirs. Morales then goes to his office to call El Diablo, only to find him already sitting in a chair. El Diablo wants payment for the competitor he killed, but Morales refuses because he didn't kill Kate or Brandon to get the job done, throws El Diablo out of the house and kills him. The next morning, as Kate and Brandon were driving to their new safe home, Kate received a call from Carlos, who found out that El Diablo had a girlfriend. He texts Kate to her address but tells her to be careful as Morales' men control her neighborhood. After Kate hung up, Kate told Brandon that she realized she wasn't interested in the operation itself. He just wants to find a sniper because sniper bullets are better than his skill. Brandon admits it's true, but before he can say any more, his car is hit by a truck. Several men working for Morales got out of the truck and opened fire, so Brandon and the officers who were escorting him shot back while Kate ran to find a hiding place. In the end, all of Morales' goons die, but unfortunately Santiago does too. Brandon, noticing Kate is gone, realizes he accidentally dropped the phone on the car seat. The text on the screen still shows the address Carlos sent. As soon as she arrives in this shady neighborhood, Kate finds many men watching her. She knocks at the correct address and is met by Morales' friend Maria, who tries to close the door as soon as Kate shows her ID. Kate tries to stop her, but this draws the attention of all the thugs now surrounding her, and Maria pushes her back so Morales' men can capture Kate. A fight ensues between the men, and although she manages to land a few hits, she is still overwhelmed and pinned to the wall. As the thugs line up to take advantage of them, Brandon appears and begins shooting them. 2 of hers fell dead, but 1 managed to escape on a stolen bike, and Karen was able to catch the last one of hers. However, as she is about to knock him unconscious, Maria tricks her into threatening her with a gun into letting him go. Luckily, Brandon surprises Maria from behind her, distracting her so Kate can disarm her. She also removes Maria's locket from her neck. This includes a photo with El Diablo. Brandon sends the photo to his father so he can use his facial recognition software to process the database. Brand also told him that they had been robbed before. That means someone is still spying on them. Until he finds out who they are, he and Kate hide elsewhere, not in their assigned safe house, without even telling Beckett the address. Kate decides to take Brandon back to her former neighborhood so Carlos can hide her for a while. The priest is not surprised to hear that Morales has a mole in the police, because Morales is friends with many powerful people, not to mention all the petty criminals who look up to him. Realizing that the chaos in the network could lead to an escape from his lair, Carlos accepts to name a few names he knows. Many corpses of various men who worked there appeared all over the city. It's all Brandon's job to kill all the names Carlos can offer. Miller calls Beckett to tell him that Brandon is out of control, but Beckett doesn't know how to find his son. One night, Carlos listens kindly to Brandon and learns about a Marine who died before it all began. Brando fears the same thing will happen to him, so Carlos tells him the only way to avoid such a death is to forgive himself for the moral damage he caused. Meanwhile, Morales finally comes out of hiding, only to find El Diablo at Maria's house. He's sick of losing a man, so he pays El Diablo all the money he owes at once and promises more if he stops Brandon. Sometime later, Samson and Beckett called Miller to inform them of the information they had found on El Diablo. His real name is Enrique and he is a former sniper defender. He arrived in Colombia from Venezuela 9 months before him, but he went missing
and
after he
Aziz want to
crossed the
celebrate
border.
with a kiss.
Samson
But
wants
Jeffrey
Miller to
interrupts them
release
and tells
Brandon
them
and
to go
Kate
to
from the
security so as
operation,
not to
but Miller
overwhelm their
disagrees.
happiness.
Diablo pays a man in the
Surprisingly,
neighborhood
the
to
entire
tell him
army
where
is
Kate
attacked
and
by
Brandon
vampires,
are
so
hiding
things
so
aren't
he
that
can
good.
find out all about Father Carlos. Later that night, Kate receives a mysterious message from Carlos telling her to meet at her square at 10 p.m. But when she tries to call him, Carlos doesn't answer. Clearly a trap of some sort, Kate and Brandon sneak into the building in front of the square, where they wait for signs that Diablo is nearby. A few hours later, a truck pulls up at a park, and Kate realizes that the men coming out of it are thugs from Maria's neighborhood. These men do strange things in the back of the truck before driving off again, and when the vehicle is moved, Kate and Brandon are shocked to find Carlos tied to a tree in the park. However, Brandon stops her before she can go outside. Brandon decides to shoot the rope to save Carlos, but his shot manages to skim it, only to show El Diablo their location. Fortunately, Brandon manages to land a second shot, freeing Carlos before El Diablo opens fire and flees. This infuriates El Diablo, who instead shoots Carlos in revenge. The next day, the entire town gathers to say goodbye to the priests, including Kate and Brandon. Standing behind the crowd, Brandon notices a man who had escaped on his bike the other day and follows him, chasing him through several streets and managing to catch him. The man pretends to be tough at first, but when Brandon remembers that Morales killed the town's beloved priest, the thug suddenly bursts into tears as Carlos was helping him on the street. Now he was taken to Miami and faces arraignment in U.S. federal court. Brandon fears El Diablo will try to stop Morales from arriving in Miami and revealing her secret. He is right. A few days later, El Diablo arrives in the United States with a very convincing fake passport. After clearing customs without incident, he got in touch with a cartridge supplier who had already provided him with a card loaded with the new gun. At the Homestead Air Reserve Base in Florida, Brandon, Kate, and Beckett watch as Morales arrives in a federal helicopter. Then they get together with Miller to make a plan of defense against El Diablo, because they're sure he'll try to attack while Morales is being transported to Miami. Miller also informs them that the type of bullets that El Diablo is using have been disappearing from the DEA's own vault, which means his mole wasn't in the Colombian police but here with them. When Samson arrives to help with the transportation, Brandon explains the plan to him. Their agents will guide a convoy that protects a car with a fake Morales wearing a hood over his head to bait El Diablo into revealing his location, but the real Morales will be traveling in a separate van that will look like it belongs to a laundry service. While Kate, Brandon, Miller, and Samson find a place on a roof to be ready for El Diablo, the convoy leaves the airbase and hits the road, where a group of criminals is already waiting. Surprisingly, the convoy isn't attacked. The thugs only start moving in their cars when the van shows up, as if they had known about the trick all along. They were probably sent by the mole to protect his identity from Morales' confession. El Diablo also waits for the van to show up, and after he shoots it to make it stop, the thugs leave their cars and open firing on the vehicle. The van explodes and now Brandon has El Diablo's location. It only takes him a few seconds to aim and finally kill him for good. The convoy continues to make its way toward Miami, where it's revealed that the man under the hood was Morales after all, and the van had been the real decoy. In fact, the van had been completely empty and the team moved it with a remote control. Kate, Miller, and Brandon turn on Samson to arrest him because it turns out he's been the guy passing information to Morales and El Diablo. Samson tried to deny it, but Miller's IT team had already hacked his phone. Now they just needed to catch him red-handed because the text messages had fake names on them and proved nothing. This makes Samson finally admit he did it and confess he worked for Morales because he had thought the Kingpin would be their best option. Kate can't believe so many people died for this and punches Samson. Beckett has had enough action to last him a lifetime and decides it's finally time for him to retire, which prompts him to give his son a warm hug before saying goodbye. He also points out that Brandon and Kate make a good team, and Brandon admits playing babysitting for the DEA may not be a bad job to take after all.